Thank God for the atomic bomb. Words from author and historian Paul Fussell. If it had not been for the atomic bomb, many more American lives would have been lost during World War II. The Manhattan Project was the United States' creation of the atomic bomb, which in turn significantly helped end World War II. The Manhattan Project relates to three main topics: exploration, encounter, and exchange. For example, the exploration of the first splitting of uranium and plutonium, the encountering of new ideas, and the exchange of information and resources. The Manhattan Project also includes nuclear fission, the testing of the atomic bomb, and the dropping of the atomic bomb with the aftermath.
Nuclear fission is either a nuclear reaction or a radioactive decay process in which the nucleus of an atom splits into smaller parts. The fission process often produces free neutrons and/or gamma photons and releases a very large amount of energy, even by the energetic standards of radioactive decay. A German named Otto Hahn discovered nuclear fission of heavy elements on December 17, 1938. Another man, Otto Robert Frisch, named the process by analogy with biological fission of living cells. He claimed it as an exothermic reaction which can release large amounts of energy both as electromagnetic radiation and as kinetic energy of the fragment. The splitting of the uranium atom was discovered in Germany in December 1938, and the continued German aggression led some physicists to fear that Germany might be working on an atomic bomb. Among these concerned physicists, Leo Szilard and Eugene Wigner. Sadly, Szilard and Wigner had no influence with those in power. So, in July 1939, they explained the situation to somebody who did, Albert Einstein. According to Szilard, Einstein said the possibility of a chain reaction never occurred to me, although Einstein was quick to understand that concept. After consulting with Einstein in August 1939, Szilard wrote a letter to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt with Einstein's signature on it. The letter was delivered that October by Alexander Sachs, a friend of the president. Germany had invaded Poland the previous month. The time was ripe for action. That October, the Briggs Committee was appointed to study uranium chain reactions.
The Manhattan Project was a research and development project that produced the first nuclear weapons during World War II. It was led by the United States with the support of the United Kingdom and Canada. From 1942 to 1946, the project was under the direction of Major General Leslie Groves of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer was the director of the Los Alamos National Laboratory that designed the actual bombs. The Army component of the project was designated to the Manhattan District. Manhattan gradually superseded the official code name, development of substitute materials, for the entire project. Along the way, the project absorbed its earlier British counterpart, tube alloys. The Manhattan Project began modestly in 1939, but grew to employ more than 130,000 people and cost nearly US $2 billion, about $26 billion in 2016 dollars. More than 90% of the cost was for building factories and producing the fissile materials, with less than 10% for development and production of the weapons. Research and production took place at more than 30 sites across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Two types of atomic bombs were developed during the war. A relatively simple gun-type fission weapon was made using uranium, while a more complex plutonium implosion-type weapon was designed concurrently. The key raw material for the project was uranium, which was used as fuel for the reactors, as feed that was transformed into plutonium and, in its enriched form, in the atomic bomb itself. There are four known major deposits of uranium in 1940, in Colorado, in northern Canada, in Joachimsthal in Czechoslovakia, and in the Belgian Congo. All but Joachimsthal were in Allied hands. November 1942 survey determined that sufficient quantities of uranium were available to satisfy the project's requirements. Nichols arranged with the State Department for export controls to be placed on uranium oxide and negotiated for the purchase of 1,200 long tons of uranium ore from the Belgian Congo that was being stored in a warehouse on Staten Island, and the remaining stocks of mined ore stored in the Congo. He negotiated with El Dorado Gold Mines for the purchase of ore from its refinery in Port Hope, Ontario, and a shipment in 100-ton lots. Canadian government subsequently bought up the company's stock until it acquired a controlling interest.
In unison with the work on uranium was an effort to produce plutonium. Reactors were constructed at Oak Ridge and Hanford, Washington, in which uranium was irradiated and transmuted into plutonium. At Hanford, the plutonium was then chemically separated from uranium. By December 1942, there were concerns that even Oak Ridge was too close to a major population center in the unlikely event of a major nuclear accident. Groves recruited DuPont in November 1942 to be the prime contractor for the construction of the plutonium production complex. DuPont was offered a standard cost plus fixed fee contract, but the president of the company, Walter S. Carpenter Jr., wanted no profit of any kind and asked for the proposed contract to be changed to exclude the company from acquiring any patent rights. This was accepted, but for legal reasons, a nominal fee of $1 was agreed upon. After the war, DuPont asked to be released from the contract early and had to return 33 cents. DuPont recommended that the site be located far from the existing uranium production facility at Oak Ridge. In December 1942, Groves dispatched Colonel Franklin Matthias and DuPont engineers to scout potential sites. Matthias reported that Hanford site near Richland, Washington, was ideal in virtually all respects. It was isolated and near the Columbia River, which could supply sufficient water to cool the reactors that would produce the plutonium. Groves visited the site in January and established the Hanford Engineer Works, codenamed Site W.
The gun-type design proved impractical to use with plutonium, so the implosion-type weapon was developed in a concerted design and construction effort at the project's Principal Research and Design Laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico. The first nuclear device ever detonated was an implosion-type bomb at the Trinity test, conducted at New Mexico's Alamogordo Bombing and Gunnery Range on July 16, 1945. The Manhattan Project was also charged with gathering intelligence on the German nuclear weapon project. Through Operation Alsos, Manhattan Project personnel served in Europe, sometimes behind enemy lines, where they gathered nuclear materials and documents, and rounded up German scientists. Despite the Manhattan Project's tight security, Soviet atomic spies still penetrated the program. The United States, with the consent of the United Kingdom as laid down in the Quebec Agreement, dropped nuclear weapons on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The two bombings, which killed at least 129,000 people, remain the only use of nuclear weapons for warfare in history. On August 15th, 6 days after the bombings of Nagasaki, Japan announced its surrender to the Allies. On September 2nd, Japan signed the Instrument of Surrender, effectively ending World War II.
In the end, the legacy of the Manhattan Project included its impact on history, science, and much more. The facilities built during the war have grown into national laboratories that continue to contribute to science research, with key breakthroughs in various science fields, including physics, chemistry, biology, medicine and medical imagery, renewable energy, and improved transportation.